Rain fell in soft sheets over the dimly lit street, washing dust from the cracked pavement and turning the neon signs into blurred streaks of color. Cars sped by, splashing water onto sidewalks where no one walked, at least no one except a small girl with tangled hair, bare feet, and a chipped, plastic recorder hanging from a string around her neck. Her name was Noor. She was 9, though life on the streets had stolen the softness from her face and replaced it with something sharp: survival. Her stomach growled so loudly she pressed a hand over it as if to quiet the sound. She carried no umbrella, no bag, no belongings. Just the recorder and the voice her mother had once told her was a gift from the sky. That was before her mother died, before Noor learned what hunger felt like, not just in the stomach but in the bones. She stopped at the entrance of a small, warm-looking cafe. The door was glass, fogged from the steam of soups and coffee inside. People sat laughing, eating, rubbing their hands over mugs. Noor hesitated. She was used to being chased away. She stepped in anyway. The owner, a tall man with gray streaks in his beard, looked up, startled at first, then confused. Before he could speak, Noor asked, "If I sing well, will you give me food?" His eyebrows rose. The waiter paused mid-step. Someone at the counter turned to look. Noor swallowed. "I don't steal," she said softly. "I only sing." The owner stared at her. The girl was dripping wet, shivering, but her voice was steady, tired but steady. "What's your name?" he asked. "Noor." "And what will you sing?" She took a breath. "My mother's song, the one she used to sing before she got sick." She stepped forward, standing on a tile floor she'd never imagined touching. And then she began to sing. It was a lullaby, soft, pure, a voice too beautiful for the dirt under her nails and the bruises on her knees. The cafe fell completely still, not a fork scraped, not a spoon clinked. Even the rain outside seemed to hush itself. The owner felt something in his chest stir, something dusty, something forgotten. When Noor finished, there was silence. Not the cold kind. The warm kind. The kind that comes right before something changes forever. Part 2. The owner, his name was Cameron, knelt down so he was eye level with her. "You don't have to sing for food here," he said quietly. "Sit, eat, rest." He led her to a corner booth, placing a steaming bowl of chicken soup in front of her. Noor stared at it as if it were a dream. She touched the spoon, hesitated, then took a bite. Tears slid down her face. She didn't sob or even sniffle. They just fell silently as she ate. Cameron watched from the counter. The cafe felt different now, warmer somehow. "Who is she?" whispered a customer. "Just a child," he replied, who needed someone to say yes. When Noor finished, she sat very still, afraid someone would take the bowl away. Cameron returned with bread and a mug of hot milk. "Eat more," he said. "You need it." "Will you let me sing again tomorrow?" she asked, tentative hope rising in her voice. Cameron blinked. "You want to come back?" "Yes," she said. "I can sing, I can clean, I just don't want to be hungry anymore." Something cracked open inside him. Years ago, he'd lost a daughter, not to death, but to custody battles and a bitter divorce. He hadn't seen her since she was 11. Every night, he wondered if she still remembered his voice. Now this little girl, so breakable, so brave, stood in front of him asking not for money but for a chance. "You can come back," he said. "Every day you're safe here." She nodded but didn't smile. She didn't remember how. That night, Cameron offered her an old blanket from the supply closet. "You can sleep here, in the back." "But I can sing more if you want," Noor said quickly. "I don't get tired." "You've done enough for one day," he said softly. She curled up in a corner cot, clutching the blanket like it was the rarest treasure in the world. Cameron turned off the lights, but before he did, he heard her humming. The same lullaby. Her mother's voice living through her own. He went home later than usual. His heart was heavier than it had been in years. And somehow lighter, too. Part 3. Noor came back every day. Sometimes she swept the floor, sometimes she stacked napkins, but mostly she sang. People began to notice. They came not for a meal, but for the girl with the voice that could soften stone. Customers filmed her. Someone posted online. A little girl sings for food at a street cafe. Listen to her voice. The video spread. The cafe began to fill with strangers, journalists, musicians, people who wanted to help. But Noor never asked for fame. Only food, only kindness. One evening, a woman in a long coat arrived. She stood near the door, listening as Noor sang, eyes filling with tears. When the song ended, she approached Cameron. "I'm a music teacher," she said. "I run a community school. I can give her lessons, a scholarship, maybe a place to stay." Cameron's breath caught. He looked at Noor, still small, still skinny, but brighter now. There was color in her cheeks, sleep in her eyes, safety in her bones. He knelt beside her. "Noor," he said gently, "she wants to help you go to school." Noor looked up, startled. "School," she whispered, as if the word belonged to another world. "And learn music, with real teachers." She stared at him, then at the woman, then at the recorder hanging from her neck. "Can I still come here?" she asked. Cameron smiled. "Every day if you want to sing, to eat, to be Noor." She nodded slowly, a cautious yes. "But then—" She smiled. Not a big smile, just a small one, shy and soft. But real. They filled out forms. The teacher made calls. Noor got a medical checkup, clothes, books, a place in music class where her voice didn't make her strange but special. Weeks passed. Noor learned to read. She sang in recitals. The cafe became her second home. Sometimes she still slept there when memories were too heavy. One day, long after she first walked in from the rain, Cameron closed early and sat across from her. "You saved this place," he said. She blinked. "How?" "You reminded us there is always beauty in the world, even when it's hungry." Noor looked at him, eyes deep as night, and asked, "Can I sing my mother's song one more time?" He nodded. She stood, took a breath, and sang. This time, she wasn't singing for food. She was singing for love, for memory, for every child who still wanders the streets hoping someone will say yes instead of no. The cafe was silent, then full of tears, then full of applause. That night, a sign went up on the door. "This is a safe place. If you are hungry, come in. Sing, rest, eat." Live, Noor woke before dawn, long before the scent of fresh bread or the rustle of newspapers reached the cafe. She lay still, wrapped in her borrowed blanket, listening to the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint drip of water from the sink. It was the closest thing to peace she had known in a very long time. She sat up slowly. Her hair was tangled, her feet were dirty, but she wasn't cold, and she wasn't hungry. That alone felt like magic. A quiet knock came at the back door. She startled, fear flashing across her face, the kind that came from knowing that knocks usually meant trouble. But it was only Cameron, carrying a paper bag full of fresh bread from the morning bakery truck. "You're awake early," he said, though he wasn't surprised. Street children rarely slept deeply. Rest came in fragments, not full nights. "I can help," Noor said quickly, getting up. "I can work, I can clean." Cameron smiled gently. "You can, yes, but first eat." He handed her a still warm roll of bread, and she held it close, inhaling like it was a flower instead of food. She took a bite. And then another. And then just for a second she closed her eyes, savoring the way it felt, fullness. Cameron watched without rushing her. "Do you remember where you used to live?" he asked gently. Noor shook her head. "We moved a lot, me and Mama. When she got sick, we stayed outside." He didn't ask more. She wasn't ready. Around 6, the cafe lights flickered on. Noor followed Cameron, helping as he opened for the morning crowd. He gave her a damp cloth and she wiped tables, inching up on her tiptoes to reach the corners. A few early customers came in: sleepy office workers, a taxi driver, a school teacher grading papers. Most didn't notice her at first. She was small, quiet. But when she started humming, just humming, people turned. That voice, even without words, it made the air warmer. "Is that the girl from the video?" someone whispered. Noor froze, the spoon in her hand slipped and clattered. She panicked, ready to flee, ready to be thrown out, ready for something bad. Cameron stepped forward. "She's a helper here and a singer, and she's safe." The customer nodded slowly. Noor relaxed only a little. Later that afternoon, a man in a suit came by. He didn't order food, didn't sit. He just stood near the counter, watching Noor as she quietly refilled napkin holders. "You're the girl with the voice," he said. Noor's shoulders tensed. She didn't answer. Cameron stepped in. "Who are you?" "I manage a recording studio," the man said. "We could train her, record her, turn her into something big, viral." Noor didn't understand all of it, but she understood the tone, like she was a product. Cameron's voice went cold but steady. "She's not for sale. But she could be famous. She could sing in front of thousands." Noor flinched. Crowds terrified her. She sang with her eyes down, like she feared someone would take her voice away if they saw too much. "She needs to eat," Cameron said, "to learn to be safe, not to be pushed onto a stage." The man shrugged, handed over a card and left. Noor watched the door close. "You don't have to sing for anyone you don't want to," Cameron said. She whispered, "I only want to sing for people who are kind." A few days later, the cafe became more than just a cafe. It became a place people came to listen, not just to music, but to feel something human in a world that had forgotten softness. Someone donated a small speaker. Someone brought flowers for the counter. Someone offered to teach Noor to read. Noor learned fast, like a girl afraid every opportunity might disappear. She learned letters, then words, then sentences. Sometimes, after closing, she sang for the empty chairs, letting her voice fill the room with songs only her mother knew. And every time she finished, she would look toward the window, half hopping, half dreaming, that her mother might suddenly walk in, smiling, saying, "That's my Noor, my sky-gifted singer." One evening, a group of teenagers came in, loud, a little mocking, the kind Noor would have avoided on the street. They sat at a table near the front. One of them saw her and smirked. "Hey, street girl, sing us something, but you can't do anything but beg." Noor froze. Her throat closed, her palms went cold. Cameron stepped forward, voice like steel. "You don't speak to her like that." One of the boys scoffed. "Relax, we're just joking." "She's not a joke." The cafe went silent. The boys shifted, uncomfortable. After a moment, they mumbled apologies. Noor didn't say a word, but something in her loosened, like a cord pulled too tight for too long. Someone defended her. In front of everyone. That night, after the cafe closed, she told Cameron a story she had never said aloud, not even to herself, not fully. Her mother's last night. The coughing, the shivering, the way she tried to sing but no sound came out, the way Noor sang instead, holding her, rocking her as the rain drummed outside the broken walls of the abandoned building they hid in. "She said my voice was light," Noor whispered, "that I should keep singing, even if I was alone." Cameron's hands shook a little as he poured her warm milk. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered. Noor stared at her reflection in the cup. She didn't recognize the girl looking back. Clean hair, less hollow eyes, clothes that fit. But the biggest difference wasn't something she could see. It was something she could feel. Hope soft and strange inside her, like a bird learning to fly again. And outside, taped to the window now where the world could see, was a sign that hadn't been there before. If you are hungry, if you are tired, if you need a kind word, come in,